It's a pleasure to have you join me on this virtual journey. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into Symphony K&C 11.18, the Symphony in A minor Odense, Kelvin. An Ionic 11.18 was formerly attributed to Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. If the Odense Symphony had truly been Mozart's, it would be among only 3 of Mozart's symphonies along with the G minor symphonies, No. 25 and No. 40 to be written in a minor key. It is now considered certain that the symphony is not by Mozart. In this chapter, we'll be unraveling the enigma of structure and discovering its transformative power. Relative C. Key A minor tempo allegro moderato SEC repeat unfold for a rapia BRB. BCRC. Cresc TDCCBBS. The symphony is scored for 2 oboes, 2 bassoons, 2 horns, and strings. In contemporary orchestras, it was usual to not write in the parts for the bassoons and harpsichord, and they would simply double the cellos and double basses if they were available in the orchestra to reinforce the bass line and act as the continuo. However, the bassoons in this symphony do not simply double the cellos and double basses. The duration is approximately 13 minutes. The symphony consists of the following movements. 1. Allegro moderato, A minor 2. Andantino, A major 3. Rondo allegro moderato, A minor. Let's now shift our focus to history and attribution and explore the ways in which it shapes our perspective. The Leipzig publisher Briekhoff and Hertel tried to publish all of Mozart's works in 1799. They collected Mozart's works from his sister, his wife, musicians, copyists, and other publishers. This compilation ultimately included a 4-bar-long incipit for a symphony in the key of A minor, with its source reported to be Hamburg music dealer Johann Christoph Westphal. Whether Briekhoff and Hertel ever had a complete copy of the symphony seems disputed, but, besides the incipit, their catalogue only noted that its manuscript could no longer be found. In the Chell catalogue published in the Urs, Ludwig Ritter von Chell listed the work as lost and placed it in the Anhang, assigning it the number Kelvin. An. 220. Alfred Einstein suggested in his 1937 edition of the Chell catalogue that the symphony was composed in 1765 in London, based on the incipit and Mozart's first surviving symphony, Kelvin. 16. He gave the work the Chell number ear and stated that the early time of composition is obviously recognizable even from the few surviving bars. The 6th edition of the Chell catalogue 1964 merely repeated this. In 1982, the complete symphony was found as a copy and, notably, not an autograph in the handwriting of several copyists in the archives of the Municipal Symphony Orchestra in Odense, Denmark. A note on the title page indicates that this symphony entered the possession of the Danish Collegium Musicum by 1793 at the latest, with the watermark in the paper of the orchestral parts showing the date 1779. None of the copyists in the Mozart family circle could have copied this symphony. In the Urs, Westphal had some authentic Mozart symphonies, along with some works with dubious sources, such as Kelvin. An. Celsius 11.18 and Kelvin. An. Celsius 11.08. Kelvin. An. Celsius 11.18 was probably among a set of works he sold to the Danish Collegium Musicum. Wolfgang Plath published the symphony, now known as the Odense Symphony, and put it in a scientific symposium for the experts. The symphony was recorded, among others, by the Academy of Ancient Music under the direction of Christopher Hogwood and was included in the Neue Mozarteslebe under works of doubtful authenticity in 2000 because the authenticity debate was then not yet complete, especially since an alternative to Mozart as the author could still not be named. Neil Zaslaw stated that the symphony was probably composed later than 1765, and that the stylistic proximity to other Mozart symphonies of the Urs and Urs make accurate dating impossible without an authentic source, and that Kelvin. An. Celsius 11.18 was often different stylistically from all other Mozart works. Wolfgang Amadeus ignored Kelvin. Anh.C. 11.18 in his review of Mozart's early symphonies because most experts did not consider it authentic Mozart. Volker Shirley stated that after long and intensive discussion, Mozart experts have agreed that the Odense Symphony cannot be considered a work of Mozart in both tradition and style. Scott Fruwald concluded that the symphony was not by Mozart, based on stylistic analysis. In this section, we'll be deep diving into deleted movement once thought to be for this symphony, unraveling its complexities and uncovering valuable insights. On the back of the fourth page of the autograph of the Wind Divertimento in B major, Kelvin. There are 16 crossed-out bars for strings, 2 oboes and 2 horns. Alfred Einstein, in his edition of the Cell Catalogue, thought this was an andante in East major belonging to a symphony written much earlier, perhaps to the then undiscovered Kelvin. Anh.C. 11.18. The sixth edition of the Cell Catalogue largely repeated this, but rooted it to imply that the association remained uncertain. Wolfgang Plath dated the Divertimento to 1772, but the 16 bars to 1765 or 1766 based on the handwriting. He also corrected the key to G minor and thought that Mozart later reused this piece of paper for the final version of the minuet and trio from the Divertimento. Franz Gigling transcribed these bars, and his transcription was printed in the critical report to the NMA Neue Mozart Essay volume of Wind Divertimenti published in 1987, which he edited. By then, the Kelvin. Anh.C. 11.18 symphony had been discovered, and Einstein's connection had been disproved since the andante was in G minor. Any work it belonged to would probably have to be in B major. Niels Ussel printed a reconstruction of this orchestral draft, stating that the draft contained internal inconsistencies and errors, and that the reconstruction was based on the assumption that Mozart was hearing the piece in G minor and B major, but could not write it correctly as he had not yet learned some necessary aspects of musical notation, such as double sharps. This G minor piece was given the number Kelvin. 638 in the 9th edition of the Cell Catalogue edited by Niels Ussel. Your feedback helps me improve, so please take a moment to leave a comment or review.